Hello there, thrill seekers. I really want to do my fun Halloween video based on the song Don't Fear the Reaper, which I just put up on this YouTube channel. So go watch that because I'm really proud of it. I thought it came out pretty well. But once again, I'm going to hold off on doing that. And I'm making this slightly clickbaity video today, mostly because of the announcement or the thing I want to talk about at the beginning of the video, and not what I want to talk about in the main video, which I'll get to. It's about Ziggy. See? Ziggy. We took Ziggy to the vet yesterday and got some disturbing news about him that I want to consult with somebody else about. So I'm hoping there might be a veterinarian watching this video, a doggy doctor, so that I can communicate with said doggy doctor about what's going on with Ziggy, because we're really worried. If you want to talk to me about Ziggy and you are a doggy doctor, go to the what's it called, email address that you see on the screen below, which is bw@hardcorezen.info. That's bw@hardcorezen.info. And I can tell you all about what's going on with Ziggy, and maybe you can tell me what you think. So, on to the clickbaity part of the video. A couple of people left comments on yesterday's video in which I addressed the current situation in Israel, and I wanted to talk about them. And I should note here that I am again on my usual news embargo, so I'm not watching the current whatever's going on right now. So if things have changed substantially since yesterday, I don't know, because I'm not watching it. I don't think we really need as much information as is offered to us about situations like this. You can just keep this occurred to me when the September 11th attacks happened. I lived in Japan at the time, and I was checking the internet every 47 seconds or something like that for an update on the situation going on back home. And I realized, they're just saying the same things over and over and over and over again. And occasionally there's one new development added to the pile of stuff, but mostly it's just nonsense. And that kind of got me out of the habit of checking on breaking situations like this. I think it's a big waste of time. So I'm not checking on the breaking situations in Israel. But I do want to talk about a couple of these comments. Here's one. The problem is that one cannot afford to be nice all the time. Tibet was so mild that they lost the capacity to defend themselves and had to be nice. Then they got gobbled up by the CCP, a Chinese Communist Party. Luckily, some of them got out. There is something to be said for peace through strength, and part of that strength is the willingness to apply it. And he quotes Dogen at the end, therefore flowers fall even though we love them, weeds grow even though we dislike them. Well, this is true. And I don't know, maybe I wasn't clear enough in my video, or I just didn't go there. I can actually well imagine how Nishijima Roshi, my Zen teacher in Japan, would react to events like this if he were alive now. He would definitely go on a little rant about how Israel has a right to defend itself. And he would probably say, he would probably support the bombings that are going on in Gaza. I know that's shocking and terrifying to a lot of you, but I'm certain that that's the position he would take, because he took that sort of position on a lot of events like this. I'm not quite as much of a hardliner as he was when it comes to things like that. I think the Israeli response is inevitable, and nothing I say about it is going to change it in any way. So I can say whatever I want. I can support it. I can denounce it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I think about it. It's going to happen the way it happens. But as far as this idea of peace through strength, myth and the Tibetan thing. I don't know enough about Tibetan history to say whether this is true or not. A lot of people have expressed this opinion that the sort of peacefulness of Buddhism is what led to the downfall of Tibet. I don't know that this is true or not. I'm kind of laying out of that argument. I don't want to get into that one. But there is something about Buddhism. Buddhism doesn't advocate complacency in a situation like this, or not defending oneself. So I'm not that's why I kind of doubt that that is the underlying reason for what happened to Tibet. There may be a lot more to it than simply, oh, Buddhists are too damn peaceful and they won't defend themselves. I think there's much more to it than that. Because there are examples, very good examples, of Buddhists defending themselves. And the best example that everybody is familiar with, but they probably don't know its Buddhist connection. Oh, my collar's doing something weird. Sorry, I wasn't trying to look like a 90s dude there. But anyway, sorry. There is a good example of that, and that's, you've heard of the Shaolin Temple. You probably, if you've ever seen any sort of pop culture or karate movies or Quentin Tarantino's movies, Kill Bill and all that, you've heard of Shaolin, very famous place known for its martial arts, and very expert martial artists who can kick your butt 9 ways to Sunday and all that. Well, the Shaolin Temple happens to be, let's get a better shot of Ziggy there. The Shaolin Temple happens to be the temple founded by Bodhi Dharma, the man who brought Zen Buddhism to China. So that's Bodhi Dharma's temple where they developed the Shaolin fighting style. So there's a strong Buddhist connection, and the connection is that Buddhists, okay, in India there was kind of a respect for and an understanding of the tradition of Buddhist monasticism. When Buddhist monasticism began happening in China, there wasn't quite that kind of respect for Buddhist monastics, and the monastics in China found themselves getting beaten up and robbed all the time. And they developed this fighting style to try to find a way to practice self-defense while maintaining their Buddhist ethics. Now, one can argue whether or not this was successful, because a lot of the fighting style they developed was then put into use by people who did not have the ethics and the ethical background that is supposed to come along with the training in Kung Fu and karate and judo and all these other things that were developed by Buddhists to defend themselves. So, it fell into the wrong hands, as it were, and I think now the Shaolin Temple is mostly known for martial arts training and not Buddhism. As far as I know, maybe somebody can correct me on that. I don't know the full history of the Shaolin Temple, but at least that's what it's more famous for. People don't even know. I didn't even know it was Bodhi Dharma's temple for years until somebody pointed out, oh yeah, that's Bodhi Dharma's temple that where all the karate people came from, Kung Fu people came from. So there's that. So it's not an attitude of complacency or just kind of standing by and letting things happen. What I was talking about near the end of the video was much more of a long-term solution, a kind of thing that'll take centuries to develop. But I think it's worth developing, and I think it's worthwhile doing what I do and what a lot of Buddhist teachers and teachers of other varieties of this sort of self-examination stuff, I don't know what we want to call it, meditation and all that. I think it's worthwhile what we're doing. I think it will come into fruition in a few centuries. It'll probably take. But in the short term, of course, people need to defend themselves, and I don't condemn people for defending themselves, whatever side they're on. People have been accusing me in the comments of having a bias. And of course, as I said, I have Jewish family members, so of course I have a bias there. But I try to see everything for what it is, and it's all terrible. It's really awful. So I think people have the right to and the need to defend themselves, and Buddhism certainly does not advocate. I don't think, at least not the Buddhism I learned, didn't advocate just standing by idly while somebody beats the crap out of you or something like that. That's not what I'm recommending. It's more for people who aren't directly involved in these sorts of conflicts. It's more for people who are outside of that to try to kind of infiltrate the culture with this idea that we are always the cause of our own misery, and that inflicting pain on someone else is inflicting pain on yourself. If this idea spreads more widely, conflicts like these and problems like these will gradually begin to decrease, but that takes a long time. It takes a long time, and it's not the solution for what to do at this minute if somebody is attacking you. That's not what that solution is for. So there you go with that. There was another another comment I wanted to talk about. You can see I have to crouch down in order to make sure Ziggy's in the frame. Maybe we'll move it a little bit. Okay. Anyway, there was another comment, and it was this. My only contention would be that I think there are definitely people who do evil acts and are not aware or could not be aware of it within their souls. Of course, Buddhists don't believe in souls, but we'll leave that aside. I'm afraid the acts of good and evil are more contingent on cultural pressures and power structures than on any moral sense. But I appreciate the idea that evil only exists when it's enacted. Then the question becomes, does good exist even when it's not enacted? And Dogen says in that same essay that I quoted that good only comes into being when people do good. It's the same as evil. Evil only comes into being when people do evil. Good only comes into being when people do good. And he encourages people to do the right thing, to do what's in accord with the rule of the universe, as Nishijima Roshi used to say. But as for this idea of people not being aware of their own evil, yeah, I'm trying to do something linguistically here that is hard. I know it's hard to understand, but I'm doing it anyway. There are people, certainly, who will, throughout their entire lives, never be consciously aware of their own evil. That's for sure. People who will not be consciously aware of their own evil, who will continue to justify evil actions in speech and say, they were doing the right thing, and etc., etc. That doesn't mean they don't know. They still know. I don't like double negatives. I always try to avoid double negatives, but that I have to say that doesn't mean they don't know. They do know. You can know something without being consciously aware that you know. In fact, this is what Zazen is all about. Zazen is, in part, I wouldn't say it's all about, sorry. In part, what that meditation is doing is making you be able to be consciously aware of things that you know, but you are not consciously aware of. And this isn't just violent acts or acts of evil. This is everything. So when you're doing Zazen, you are sitting quietly watching what your mind does without direction or without trying to find something or to do something or to change something. And this will bring into conscious awareness all sorts of things. This is why I do these videos every 6 months or so, it seems like, where I warn people of the dangers of meditation. The danger of meditation is that it will bring to conscious awareness stuff that you know but are not consciously aware that you know. And that's kind of the shattering part of it for those of us who've been through it. And it's the part of it where it gets very dangerous and can get very upsetting, because you not only realize these things about yourself that are unsavory and problematic and evil, if we want to go with that word, you also become aware that you know that it's evil, that you know when you're doing wrong. And that, for a lot of people, can be the really devastating part. That's where they get confused, and that's where it really helps to have a teacher, because realizing that you've been knowingly doing evil all your life can get a person confused and make them think that they're an evil person. This is that famous story, which I can't remember the exact details of it, but I quoted it in a video a while ago, where a person went on a meditation retreat and ended up committing suicide after it, because she became aware of her own evil and she thought she was a terrible person. Well, I can guarantee that one of the things she became aware of was not only that she had this capacity for evil, but that she had been doing wrong things all her life, knowing that they were wrong. And depending on the extent, depending on the type of person you are, and depending on the extent of the wrong that you did, this can be really horrifying. Even if the wrongs that you did weren't quite that heinous by the legal standards or whatever, if you're a particularly sensitive person about such things, or you have a very well built up self-image of being good, it can be devastating to find out that you've been knowingly doing the wrong thing. So that's also, I think, an important point to make. So there you go. That's my slightly clickbaity video that I thought would probably get more views and draw attention to Ziggy. So again, if you are a veterinarian and you would like to have a little chit-chat with me on emails about Ziggy's condition, go to write an email to bw@hardcorezen.info, and I'll talk to you about that. Hey Ziggy, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to do a pitch for donations. I forgot to tell people that they can go to the URL that they're seeing below, hardcorezen.info/donate, to donate to me, and I forgot to do that because that's my main way of living, and that's my main way I pay your vet bills, which yesterday's vet bill was pretty expensive, like $700. Anyway, so you can donate to me by going to hardcorezen.info/donate. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your donations, but as always, you don't have to donate if you don't want to. Let's do Ziggy's Cameo. I always stay out of the Ziggy Cameos, and you never see how I really make them, but really I just kind of move the camera in close. Oh, there you can see the microphone. Anyway, there's Ziggy. He's feeling better today than he was yesterday, but we're still concerned about him, and he's really important to me. So I hope Ziggy turns out all right. The prognosis isn't definitely bad, but it is concerning. So, I don't want to jinx it by saying too much. Anyway, there's Ziggy. How you doing, Ziggs? Anyway, we'll see you later. Have a good time all the time. Bye.